How's everyone doing? I am here with Tammy Slater, not only a dynamic CEO here at Goodwill, Greater Nebraska, but a dear friend, someone who understands people and process, understands tactics and plans. Can't wait to chat with you and ask you several questions. I'm Todd Smith, the CEO of Symphony Workforce and Discover Your Genius. Tammy, let's start with you met us a while back. And after that first meeting, you were able to say, hey, listen, I'm going to put chips in the table with this group. And I'm curious to the why,
Okay.
as it relates to young people and as it relates to business, if that is a good framework to start with.
Sure, that's great. First of all, thank you, Todd.
Absolutely.
This past year has been quite an experience, not only for myself, but for staff participating with this. And obviously, you have lots of things that come your way as you sit as a CEO.
Right.
Lots of people want you to consider lots of different things. I just always am open to that.
Mhm.
But as soon as I met with you and John and understood what the potential was, and that we could be a part of that, first of all, that got me excited to be able to be a part of something, to not only contribute, but maybe raise some questions. But every day as a CEO, it's about the people of the organization. No matter if you're making a widget at a manufacturing company or nonprofit and we're working on the retail side of the world, the mission side, whatever it might be, it's all about the people. And what I saw here was an opportunity to get everyone to understand that Goodwill is more than a nonprofit and
Right.
a Goodwill store. So it was selfish. It was that opportunity for us to say we're more than this important piece that we play in the retail world and into a community. Because what else I saw was interacting with an audience that we don't necessarily get to interact with every day. Our programs are geared to all adults,
Right.
so we don't connect with the youth. And I don't connect with the youth when I'm out in the community or interacting in different things that I'm involved with. The youth introduction was very important to me. As young people are deciding their direction in life, I want Goodwill to be in that mix. Because lots of times we grow up and you gotta go work for a business. Why would you work for a nonprofit? I'm here to tell you the nonprofit is the same as working for the Fortune 500 because I've done that too.
Right.
It's all about people and operating the business the best you can. So that was a long answer, but it was selfish,
Right.
why we wanted to participate, but I saw opportunity for internal opportunity for staff that maybe had never participated in something like this, but for all of us to be engaged with youth, because it's going to be the youth that someday are going to be sitting in the different chairs.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you in your past, which is well decorated. You've worked for Fortune 500. Right now, you're leading nonprofit here at Goodwill, Greater Nebraska. What are the differences in terms of, or are there differences in terms of what those pillars are looking for from the next generation of dynamic employee or dynamic executive or board member? What is that they're looking for? And have you seen that in this new generation of kids?
I will say there should not be a difference. Reality is whatever your mission is as a business, mission as a nonprofit, we all have a purpose. And so you want to be the best you can with that mission, but then you still have to balance the business. Maybe sometimes there is this perception that you have to focus differently if you're a nonprofit. I don't believe so. As the leader of this organization, you have to be able to understand the significance of all pieces, but And a lot of people will say this is corny, but it is about the people. If you don't have the right people in the right positions, and maybe that means you have to teach them, you have to coach them, you have to direct them. You do the same sort of work and the same questioning, whether you're here at a nonprofit or at a place where they make widgets. I
Right.
see them the same. So when I look and interact with the youth, whether we have an intern or someone job shadowing, it's going to be the same skills. You've got to be a good communicator. You have to be able to change and adjust based on what's required. You have to understand the why. It's not just come to work and do whatever that job is. You got to understand how all the pieces fit. You have to understand being a team. We all want to do well.
Right.
Okay? But you will not do well if you don't understand the dynamics of teams.
Right.
The other thing that's really important is respecting and understanding the community that you're in. If you end up as a leader of an agency like Goodwill, Industries of Greater Nebraska, the community support or community questioning can be a plus or a minus for you. So whether you're at a Fortune 500, a small business, a nonprofit, I'm a believer that you need to be in the community.
Yes.
Because you have the appreciation of what the needs are in your community, but it also opens the door for continued partnerships. From the first time we met, I've seen this as a partnership. I don't have your experiences, our Goodwill doesn't, you don't have our experiences. So how do we make this work?
Right.
And how do we use each other's network, which we have done
Yes.
continually,
Yes.
to open the doors for one another,
Right.
as well as what this is all about, and that is about the youth having the experience of, here's an issue, what would you do, how would you present it? Because that's what you do practically every day at your job.
Right.
And this is that training ground for that. And you're getting exposed to the reality, particularly on some of the different issues that we have raised within these symphony times where people say, I want to be a part of that challenge. Well, when it's talking about the soft side of the people that work for you or the people you interact with, that's key, because that's real every day.
Absolutely.
Whether it's somebody now as a young person where you work at the grocery store and you don't get along with John Q. Public next to you,
Right.
Guess what? You better figure it out, because you got to keep working with them. And that's going to be the same thing throughout your whole life.
Absolutely. One of the things that I've always been impressed by you, after our first time sitting down, I left and we're driving back to Omaha, and I said, I think she gets empathy in a way of being, and this is complete transparency. It didn't take me long to realize you were one of the top 5 or 6 CEOs I've been around in my lifetime.
Wow, keep going, Tom. Thank you.
But what elevated you past just the brick and mortar of being having tactical mastery, was your ability to bleed in this huge bucket of self-awareness and empathy into every conversation we had.
Okay.
And which shows up in the challenges, right? Whether it's how do we prevent school shootings, whether it's how do you help mental or emotional stress, how do you reinvent schools, talk to us about equity. Like, so the challenges that you put forth amongst all the things that you could have chosen shows this need to find individuals who have empathy, and then you can teach other things. So can you talk a little bit about this new generation and having to master that no matter where they go in life?
Right.
But if they don't have this thing, they got to find it. Does that make sense as a question?
No, it makes sense, and truly, the empathy piece, I believe for myself, is because I really do understand the significance and the value of each person. And, I started in org development, so, that's just kind of where I started. But if people don't understand the value of every person, then you will not be as successful, or you will fail quickly. I use this story, and I've probably told you this story. When I worked at a previous employer, we would bring in all of these new executives. And they may have had the book smart, they may have had some experiences, but you always have to pause and you have to understand the dynamic of the environment you just entered.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe I do have good experiences, maybe I do have some ideas that I think will improve whatever is in front of me. But if you don't take time to look around you first and understand the reason why and the people that have been a part of it, you won't ever be able to move in a different direction. And so that's one thing I would say to young people is, we get done with school or we've completed a class and we think we've got it all.
Right.
Again, which is great. We need that confidence. We need that knowledge. But it's so important that you pay attention to all the other dynamics. And I say all, but the most important piece is the people side of it.
Right.
Because you don't know when an employee, a person that just walked in your front door, is dragging with them from prior to your exchange.
Absolutely.
So I hope that the empathy then also helps and is so important to be non-judgmental. Because I think for myself, you think the wiser you get, if the judgment still stays, it doesn't really matter. Because people feel that, see it.
Right.
It's all about connecting and appreciating the differences, the similarities, and how can we get together as we move forward.
That's beautiful. We have and I know you're going to take advantage of this, so I'm preaching choir stuff right here, right? Knowing what you don't know, right, and having the freedom to venture into that space without fearing failure, and knowing that you're going to need help, right, or learn new things. We pulled together recently, invited from our last challenge, we had 23 states come in. We formed a National Student Advisory Council, right? So a mini board for our company,
right.
All students. And so as we work with them, we had our first meeting a week ago now. By the time we got off the call, I picked up the phone and called my partner, John Batcher, and I said, were we the dumbest people on the call? I felt like we were the dumbest people on the call, right? Because the youth of today are so talented, information so readily at their fingertips. They work with each other with, as I've seen, with a level of grace that adults do not. Right? If you pass the ends of cyberbullying and you pass some of that cliquey stuff, and when you get them in the right group, they work with grace in a kind of innovative process that we do not. And I know you do a really good job of mentoring in your spare time, the little spare time that you have. Talk to me about what you learned from those kind of relationships with the young people that makes you recalibrate it all about how you deal with adults.
Well, I think, the point that you raised as far as the mentor, reality is I had amazing mentors myself. I didn't even know they were mentors. It might not have been the term that was used. But I would agree with you. The youth, it's just a different world than your era, my era, okay? So they are, I think, on so many levels, so much more worldly in their knowledge and experiences
Right.
which can be a plus or can be a minus. It's how you use any sort of knowledge, whether it was what I had in my 20s versus you versus the young people today. It's what you do with it again, based on, I'm gonna go back to your surroundings, your circumstance,
Mm-hmm.
the purpose of that exercise.
Right.
And what mentoring for me has done, and again, going back to my first mentor right out of college, she was my mentor until she died at 87.
Wow.
And I have mentored many young people over the years, but I do it hoping that I can offer something, but it gives me insight to, there are changes with each generation. There are changes with youth in Grand Island, Nebraska now versus the past. So I just see it as, what are they thinking? What's going on in their head? Because that introduces me to that, because that's not what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Just like my board of directors, we have been very purposefully changing up from all of my friends, 55 and older,
Mm-hmm.
to a more diverse board, with it being heavy on younger individuals. Because I don't think the same way, as I'm looking to grow and to move a certain direction with the organization. What's their perspective? So you need all of that mixture.
Right.
So mentors can go, it doesn't always have to be the old lady and the young girl, it can go so many different directions.
Right.
But mentors, to me, young people need to take advantage of that
Yes.
knowledge,
Yes.
instead of, oh, what do they know?
Right.
And eventually they'll get to that. But to continue that throughout your career is very important, because things do change. It's not the same, and it will change for them as they continue down their path.
So I have girls and boys, and I have to absolutely connect my girls to you, because I think you are everything that a young woman should aspire to be.
Thank you.
And I have to also love you as one of my mentors for my son, right? So that he understands how dynamically brilliant women are, that he understands that intellectually being tough and strong comes in all forms,
Right.
that he no longer, or never, I should say no longer, never is put off by strength shown by a woman, right? That he encourages that,
Sure.
right? That he sees everyone as equal, right? And I think that young men need to have as many alpha women mentors as they can, right? For that relationship, so that society
Sure.
gets bigger and runs at full throat.
Sure.
So give me a 60-second explanation for everyone. Goodwill of Greater Nebraska.
Well, Goodwill Industries of Greater Nebraska is located here in Grand Island, as far as what we'll call our headquarters. But we're responsible for 55 counties of the 93 in the state of Nebraska. Again, many people know us with the Smiling G, the retail stores. But what we're really all about is mission. We are here to serve individuals within our territory that have various barriers. It may be under our program of behavioral health, mental illness issues. It may be individuals with intellectual and physical disabilities in our developmental disability area. And we open up employment to anyone that we serve of, hey, you and I have a purpose every day. We're all about mission every day. And we're all about also running this as that balance that I talked about earlier, being good stewards of what we have,
Mm-hmm.
and then being the best we can be, but also what more can we be.
Nice, beautiful. Thank you for sitting down with me.
Thank
for
you very
being
much.
Such a great partner.
Yeah.
Tammy Slater, Goodwill of Greater Nebraska. She's amazing. We thank her for everything that she's done for kids, for adults, for the community. in 55 counties is amazing. I know it's big work. And so once again, Todd Smith, Symphony Workforce, Discover Your Genius, thank you. Take care.